Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech live on YouTube with another different background setup and kind of a spur of the moment live stream with a spur of the moment announcement. So, obviously, there's going to be a lot of Apple talk in the next couple weeks surrounding iPhones, Apple Watches, and all that. But I thought, as a nice little refresher, we could talk about something else that I've been a customer for. Currently, I've been a T Mobile customer for about 6 months. I was a Starlink customer for around a year, no longer, unfortunately, but I was very surprised to hear Elon Musk announce that they plan on having an event that starts officially in 30 minutes. SpaceX is live streaming this event themselves, but it's a cross announcement. They're having a high executive chairman from T-Mobile and Elon do a presentation about something about expanding on connectivity. So there's definitely a lot of theories floating around already, and I'm a big fan of Starlink, and I'm a decently big fan of T-Mobile. Even though I use Mint Mobile for my cell phone service, they're using the T-Mobile network, and I'm a T-Mobile home internet user. So I thought this was like the perfect little cross collaboration for me to react to, and I was definitely interested in what was going on with this event. So I knew that I was going to watch it anyway. Plus, it was a Thursday, and I was like, "Hey, we haven't done a live stream in a couple days, so might as well watch it with you guys because I think this might be kind of funny and interesting, at least, to see what happens when these two companies collaborate and what exactly they're announcing." Um, there's a more likely theory, and then there's like a game changer theory. And I'd love to gauge the chat because we have 30 minutes to speculate. I wanted to do a video on this, but because it's so last minute and I had a lot of things going on today, there's just not work related stuff, but behind the scenes stuff going on with, just getting places and watching over the grandparents' house and family stuff and all that. But as soon as I saw this, I was like, man, that would make a great video, but we're so close, I might as well just live stream my reaction to it. And so now I'm going to use the remainder of the 30 minutes to talk about what potentially could be announced at this event. Hey, Nick is in the chat. Good to hear from you, man. I want a Starlink capable iPhone. So that's more on the wildcard theory. But my primary theory that was already suggested earlier in the chat by, who was it? Evolution, I think that's how you say his name. But he's in the United Kingdom and he's on Starlink, and he said that they just got a reduction in the subscription cost from £89 to £75, which is awesome because that's always been the goal of Starlink Internet, is to try to get people who need better internet more affordably, and more importantly, just people who need fast speeds, because obviously Starlink is not the cheapest internet in the world right now, but the difference is they're in startup mode, they're ramping up, and they currently have way more demand than they have supply. So we might actually finally be seeing over in Europe the instances of they finally start to match capacity, they finally start to match demand, and then once they match demand, they can price accordingly, which I think is a good thing. Whoa, oh my god, DJ. He just renewed his membership card there. It says, Ayo Drew and Ayo Nick, good to hear from you again. Thank you for your support for 33 months. I think DJ has everyone else beat in terms of the memberships. That's awesome. So my theory here is actually not that they're going to embed Starlink in the phone. I think that T-Mobile wants to expand the 5G network by boosting capacity at their existing towers using Starlink business terminals. So these are going to be larger than the residential terminals, but they might actually start building towers in places that they can't run cables to, but they will be able to take the Starlink signal and send that over the 5G wavelength, so that technically it's not a direct connection from your phone to the Starlink satellite, but it would be technically 5G data powered by Starlink, which I think could be really, really cool. It could expand coverage. It could bring internet signal to a lot of people's smartphones, even 5G home internet powered by Starlink instead of powered by, fiber optic cables, which can only go in so many different places. So that's what my running theory is that they want to just expand the current network. The more wildcard theory that, of course, a lot of people are talking about is they're actually working on a way to embed Starlink connectivity into smartphones, which feels like a bit of a stretch because Starlink typically needs direct line of sight. So even if there was a way to access Starlink through your phone, it probably would not work indoors. It would only work if you had a way to, access your phone was outside and it could look directly up at the sky. But Qualcomm is working on modems that hypothetically can connect to satellite. I mean, satellite phones have been a thing for a while. It's just they're very low data. They're not meant for like streaming 4K videos, or you couldn't watch or do a live stream like this over a satellite phone. It's basically just good for very low amounts of data, maybe a phone call. But yeah, if maybe they have some kind of joint product they've been working on, because I do know that Starlink has recently gotten FCC approval to work on mobile devices. That doesn't mean smartphones. It just means that you can like potentially make an accessory that maybe has battery powered. That would make more sense. So it doesn't need a wall outlet, but maybe wherever it goes, it has just a tiny little Starlink dish on it, and that can connect to the satellite and create a little Wi-Fi network. And maybe they're launching that in conjunction with T-Mobile, and it'll use 5G towers when that's available, and then it'll use Starlink when that's available, and it's like a accessory product. And the goal is that no matter where you take it on Earth, basically, it will have signal and it will have decent speeds. Or at least that might be the target goal once Starlink is fully built out. They're still expanding the network. They're still setting up satellites all the time. So I find this event to be very important for T-Mobile and Starlink. Yeah, me too, Joe. There's no Cybertrucks at this event. Yeah, we know Apple events in a couple weeks. We'll definitely live stream my reaction to that as well. Been a follower since the Green Walls in the Attic days. For the love of God, never stop making these informed videos. Oh, thanks, Alex. As long as you guys keep watching them, I'll keep making them. That's the deal. If no one's watching them, then I might not make them anymore. But as long as you guys are watching, I definitely will. iPhone 13 and 14 were rumored to be able to connect to satellite internet. Sorry, maybe this is it. Yeah, I don't think Qualcomm put the modems necessary in the iPhone 13. That was rumored to happen, but then it was never officially, launched or unveiled. But it would be weird if they talked about doing that and the iPhone 14 isn't even out yet. I mean, it will be out in a couple weeks, but what do I think of the new T-Mobile gateway? Is there a different one, or is it the same one that I have? Am I missing something? T-Mobile home internet. Let me just check real quick if there's a different one that I don't know about. Yeah, it looks the same to me. But as far as the current gateway goes, it seems to be very sensitive to location, but once you get it in a decent spot, it can run really well. But I've still run into comments. I still get comments on my T-Mobile reviews pretty much every day saying like, yeah, mine's been great. I'm very happy with it. And others saying mine got worse. It's so hard to recommend because it's so dependent on your location. And if you're in an area where a lot of T-Mobile users are sharing one tower, that's obviously going to impact your Wi-Fi speed. So because I live in a place that's more rural and I'm not sharing the T-Mobile tower with that many people, it seems to work pretty reliably for me. There's a new gateway that's newer than the one you have, but hasn't been rolled out yet, based off my understanding. Oh, well, I haven't seen that one. I don't know where to find it. Maybe I should look for it, but I can't tell what it looks like. But yeah, just me looking at a box is probably not that helpful. I'll wait till I hear some reviews on it. James says, I might even pay you to hear your thoughts. Oh, wait, I suppose I... Yeah, James, you're already there. No need. Shout out all the way from Libya, North Africa. Wow, North Africa people are tuning in. Thank you so much, iAlphone. Wondering if the Neuralink will have built-in Wi-Fi. God, I hope not. Do we need to connect our brains to the Wi-Fi even more so than they already are? Yippee Kaye, I think, says, do you think this will be like iPhone, where it's this one cell phone company for a few years, then everyone will get the service? Or this is with one cell phone company? Oh, I see what you're trying to say. Like the original iPhone was only on AT&T for a while. I don't think it'll be that because they're announcing it through T-Mobile. So I'd be kind of surprised if there was hardware at this announcement, but I guess that's possible, right? If Starlink is collaborating with T-Mobile, the crossover I did not see coming and did not expect. Maybe they have some kind of little mobile battery-powered gateway that you can take anywhere and have coverage, and it works in conjunction with T-Mobile and Starlink simultaneously. Ricardo says, in the Dominican Republic, Starlink reduced its pricing from $133 a month to just $54 a month. Whoa! That's amazing. That's a huge price reduction. Congratulations. I don't know if you plan on using it yourself, but this is the beauty of Starlink, is that, once it's fully ramped up and once it's scaled, they can figure out how to price it according to demand, because, once you send up the satellites, they're there. That's a sunk cost. So SpaceX, depending on the country and what the government approves for, they are obviously just going to price it so that they max out the capacity of that area, and they are financially incentivized to do so, because if you just price wall it, if you price lock it and it's so high that no one wants to do it, there's no motivation for them to keep prices high, because they've already sent the satellites up there. So their incentive is to make sure that all the satellites are being used at their maximum potential. So if demand gets matched in a certain area, then they just lower the prices until they can expand further. And that's how you find out about giant price reductions like that, which is great. I mean, the pessimistic view of it is, obviously you could say, well, they're lowering prices because not enough people are signing up for the service. And it's like, yeah, but isn't that what you want? Like, aren't companies much more beneficial to the consumer once they are demand constrained? The reason Starlink has been so expensive for so long is because they've always been plenty of demand, but they're infrastructure constrained. So when you have not enough capacity for your network and you don't want too many people to sign up for it, that's when you charge a lot of money for it, which is not great for the end consumer, but it's probably great for Starlink. Now we're getting to the point, finally, where Starlink has to start to become more price competitive, which is good for us. Robert says, I already have T-Mobile 5G home internet for 50 months. Same. I'm in the same boat. So far, Starlink has not reduced prices in the U.S., probably just because there's either a bunch of people in the United States that have no options, or they have very obvious better options, and there's not much of a neck-and-neck competition. Like, when I was visiting my parents up in Washington, they were not far away from very rural areas, and I saw several Starlinks in people's cabins and just in the middle of the woods. And they have no other options out there. So because everybody who lives in rural areas that are far from cable internet or even just fiber optic internet or 5G home internet, they need Starlink, so they're going to pay whatever they need to pay in order to have it. Whereas in other countries, they have some more options, and they're probably not at max capacity yet because they're not as densely populated as the US is. So that probably results in Starlink saying, okay, we can take on some more people. Let's just lower prices. So I still think that's that's great for us. Maybe not so great for Starlink, but if Starlink's goal is to bring more accessible, affordable internet to more people, then that's a win in my book. I'll take it. I'll take the win. My dad is thinking of getting T-Mobile since Comcast is being so meh for us. I know, I hate Comcast so much. James says, T-Mobile service here is good, but billing support not always great. I spent 3.5 hours getting my bills straightened out this last Saturday. I spoke to 4 different people. Yeah, I unfortunately have similar situations. If you get everything set up correctly and the auto pay is working the way it's supposed to, obviously I don't have much complaints. But when my T-Mobile internet went out and I had to call them to figure out what was wrong, it was a nightmare, and getting so many different answers on the phone. Michael says, wouldn't be surprised if T-Mobile was at the 14 event like Verizon was at the 12 event. That would be kind of cool if they announced the T-Mobile phones are going to start to use a Starlink wavelength or something, and then the iPhone 14 gets Starlink compatibility or something like that. Mike says, T-Mobile and Starlink announced they stole Ryan Reynolds from Mint. Oh my God, that would blow my mind. Michael says, I expect that T-Mobile will be announcing a satellite-based network that works with Starlink, which will work with the upcoming iPhone 14s in 2 weeks. That would be so cool. We'd have a collaboration between T-Mobile, Starlink, and the iPhone all rolled it. Like, this is my dream scenario for the tech channel. All that we need now is, and if you're on the T-Mobile network, you get 3% back with the Apple Card. So it's like the perfect Tailosive Tech news story. We just combine everything into one announcement. Once I got T-Mobile home internet, I cut the cord from Spectrum last December. I'm so glad I did. Me too, Robert. I've heard bad things about Spectrum as well. Sam K says, do you think Tesla would ever build Starlink into the car, use the hood as the dish, sort of how Apple Watch screen is a cellular antenna? Again, the way I understand the Starlink wavelength is that it needs direct line of sight. So people have asked Elon about that in the past, and he's just said that it doesn't really make much sense to put on a car because if your car drives under a tunnel, you would lose signal. If your car drives in a woodsy area where there's trees, you would lose signal. You wouldn't lose it if you were on 5G, which unfortunately Tesla still don't have. I wish they would get that. But and of course, if you're parked in your garage, it won't work. If you're in a parking garage or you're parking somewhere underground, you wouldn't have Starlink signal. So I guess the answer is maybe one day, but it wouldn't be a replacement. It could not replace the need for cellular connectivity, which they're already putting cellular connectivity in the cars. So Starlink would just be like a handy extra add-on, but it would be kind of difficult to find a way to, in a clean, elegant way, integrate that into the hood, because the Starlink dishes, at least right now, are pretty noticeable and pretty obvious, and I don't think it would be just a tiny little micro-sized square that you could embed into the hood. It would have to be a pretty noticeable plate-sized thing that you would have to stuff somewhere in that design. It would probably work better on something like a Tesla Semi. The semi trucks are less likely to be going into parking garages. They're not really going into garages that often. They're a lot bigger, so you can embed a Starlink dish into it and it wouldn't really look that awkward or weird. So I don't really think Starlink is destined to go on vehicles, on cars so much. But boats, it definitely makes a lot of sense. That's why they've launched Starlink Maritime. So cruise ships, battleships, I'm sure all military ships are going to want Starlink because it's the fastest possible internet they can get at sea. And I know that Starlink Maritime sounds super expensive, but if you know what current maritime internet costs, it's already insanely high. And Starlink's is like 10 times faster for about the same price. And they'll, of course, price it accordingly depending on... They'll like demand. If not enough people sign up for it, then they'll lower the prices. If too many people sign up for it, then they'll raise the prices. And that's essentially how it'll work. I could see Starlink going into RVs and fifth wheel trailers. Well, yeah, they've already launched Starlink for RVs. That's already a thing that people are using. But you just have a regular dish. It's not like it's not directly installed into the van, but I think we could easily get to that point. Apple is sending me an M2 MacBook Air for free in a few weeks. What? Michael, how do you always find these crazy hookups? It's not fair. For free? How do you get free Apple products? My uncle used to have Spectrum, but it was so bad he was working for Spectrum, so he quit his job and canceled Spectrum. Wow, quit his whole job. That man is committed, Noah. My goodness. Sam says, what if they put Starlink on the Apple Pencil? Why aren't we funding this? Why haven't we thought of such a thing? Yeah. Let's see. My mom is thinking of getting an Apple Card since our bank is being really weird right now. I keep being told on the comments on my Apple Card video, like, the Apple Card is great and I love it, or there's so many better credit cards with so much better cash back. And I'm like, okay, if you get, like, on average 3% cash back and I'm getting 2% cash back, with my spending, that's a difference of what, like 20 or 30 bucks a year. So it's not like make or break. It's not like by going with a different credit card, you're going to make all this extra money. But what I highlighted in the review that I really liked about the Apple Card was just the simplicity of the wallet app. It's so simple and easy to understand. I hate the complexity of most banking apps. I've had a very difficult time finding an online banking app that I like, that feels clean and elegant and simple. And the fact that you don't even have to go through Face ID to open Wallet. You just open it up and there's all your transactions, and it's very easy to set up and very easy to see where the transactions were, and getting your credit limits very simple. So that's why I'm a fan of it. I'm sure there's cards with better cashback, but the cashback's been pretty decent for me. I wish there was a Starlink kit that I could just mount to the roof of an RV and drive with it, or even better, use the existing one. You can't. I mean, people are probably just mounting Starlink dishes to their RVs, but yeah, they need to make one that's more intentionally meant to be mounted. Audio seems low. I'm in the yellow on my end, so sorry. I don't plan on... It's probably low on your end. Let's see. You really liked the 6% they gave you. That's true. There was a glitch, and they gave me 6% back on my MacBook Pro, and I'll never say thank you enough for that, because basically Apple shaved off $160 or something on my MacBook Pro for no reason, and I'm very grateful. Having the Apple Card is great until you travel to the Middle East and have to apply for an international credit card. True story. But isn't that the situation with any American credit card, or is that just the Apple Card? Do you still use YouTube Music anymore? No, I only used YouTube Music briefly after I canceled Apple Music, and then my brother-in-law offered me Spotify Premium for free. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take Spotify Premium. If he kicks me off his family plan or just says like, yeah, we don't want you on the family plan anymore, then I would go back to YouTube Music because I have YouTube Premium and I absolutely plan on keeping that. I watch more YouTube than any other service. I've had it since the day it existed, back when it was called YouTube Red, and I don't plan on ever leaving it just because I love YouTube so much. Um, so that's why I'm happy with Spotify Premium for now, just because I get it for free through a family member. But Apple Music is nice. Like, I think the user interface of Apple Music is better, but I'm just not willing to pay an extra $8 or $10 a month just for the UI, because at the end of the day, I still just open an app on my phone and put in a song, and it plays, and they get the I can do that for free. I would rather do it for free. Um, let's see. I bought a 2017 MacBook Pro, got a few keyboard repairs, and the repair tech messed up my display, so I got a display replacement. Then I got another keyboard repaired. At that point, Apple just gave me a new MacBook because it was probably cheaper. My good. My goodness, Michael. I was offered an M2 MacBook Pro, but the person was nice and let me swap it for an Air. So you're saying that in order to get a free MacBook Air, we need to buy an old MacBook Pro and then try to replace the display and keyboard a bunch of times? Yeah, Apple Card is still not outside of the US, and I wish it was. It's upsetting. Do you think the Starlink tech will come to emergency services with Apple Watch at all with Series 9? It's interesting you say Series 9 because, yeah, that would imply it's not ready now. But, yeah, that basically answers the question. Yes, Carlos. I think that eventually Qualcomm is already working on modems that can communicate with low Earth orbit satellites, and Starlink is by far the most common low Earth orbit satellite. So if you wanted to build a emergency services network that, like, you could tell people that you were in trouble even if you were out of range of a 5G tower, that would be the best way to do it. So I think it's a matter of time. It's more of a if. No, it's more of a when, not an if. Sorry. I hope they will put Starlink on Amtrak long distance trains. Yes, absolutely. VLF Chicago Transit. I went on a Amtrak cross country trip earlier this year, and there were some places where we had cellular internet, but definitely huge stretches where we didn't. And that would have been a perfect scenario for Starlink because the train is, for the most part, able to have line of sight of the sky. And even if you went through a tunnel, there's some pretty long tunnels that the Amtraks go through. But if you just had a Starlink dish on either end of the train, you would get connection maintained as the train was going through the tunnel. I guess you would probably lose signal when both ends of the train were in the tunnel, but that wasn't as common. Most of the trains would have at least one end of the locomotive exposed to the sky, so it would connect to one on one end and then the other, and then you would maintain signal most of the time, and then you could actually get really fast speeds while you're on the train, which is cool. um, let's see. Back in 2017, I bought a destroyed iPhone 7 for $59 and brought it to the Apple Store, and they replaced it with a brand new one for $200. Latest iPhone for $250. Whoa, that's a really good deal, Nick. I didn't know they did that. Emmanuel says MacBooks get cellular when. That's a great question, but we're already struggling with thermals on the current MacBooks. So maybe when Apple starts designing their own modems and they're not relying on Qualcomm anymore, perhaps that's when we'll get cellular on MacBook. It's still weird though, right? Like, how come iPads can get 5G but not the MacBook Pro? I don't understand that. Isaiah Adorno says, I love your videos, man. I work for T-Mobile and I use you as a reference when I'm pitching home internet sometimes. Probably not the rant video, right? But thank you. I appreciate your support. Thank you guys for watching. Um, it's funny that there's T-Mobile people saying like, "Hey, check out this video." I've noticed that. I get a lot of views on those videos. Some of them at least. James says, I have too much invested with uploads to YouTube Music to switch. I have 20,000 songs or more uploaded. I started with Google Play Music. Wow, that's insane. 20,000? Oof. I just, I have a hard time visualizing that because it's like, there's not many random songs like that I instantly want accessible. To me, it's like, I don't subscribe anymore, but I just, on Spotify Premium, look up any song I can think of, and it's usually there. Or you're listening to the radio and whatever. Nick says I would take trains more often if they had decent internet. Yeah, see, that might be a good motivation to take trains more. Uh, let's see. I hope they put. Oh, sorry, I read that. think it won't. What's your prediction on this event? I'm hoping it's that T-Mobile will get satellite cellular service like the iPhone 14 satellite modem stuff, but I think it won't be that extensive tonight. Yeah, my theory is that it's a dedication to like a special version of the T-Mobile network where they're going to start building T-Mobile towers that are powered by Starlink, and they're going to put them in remote places so that you can still have internet service. And it may not be the fastest. It may not be like full speed 5G or C-band or whatever, but it'll be fast enough for you to tell people, like, if you're in trouble, send a few text messages, send them your location, and it's going to be like an emergency service thing. That's my prediction, but I've seen a lot of different theories in the chat already. He has pirated a lot of music. Oh my god. I bought all the music. Thank you, James. I appreciate you for not pirating. That's good. Do you ever think that Apple will reach the peak of iPhone and can't offer year-over-year improvement? I think that every year we get a little bit closer, but there will likely always be a little bit of incremental improvement they can make every 12 months. So I don't think they'll ever stop doing the 12-month thing. But the year-over-year differences will get progressively smaller, which we've already seen that. They've already gotten pretty minor. Yes, I am going to show the T-Mobile Starlink live stream. So hopefully you'll be able to watch it and hear it along with me. Just keep in mind that because I'm reacting to it, there is always going to be a delay. Even if I had 10 gigabit, the fastest internet in the world, there would be a delay because SpaceX is the one live streaming this. They have to send out the broadcast. Then I have to react to it, capture my reaction, record it, process it, upload it to YouTube servers, and then they send it out to you. So I will be a little bit behind the actual stream, but yeah, I'm planning on showing the live stream because SpaceX is usually pretty cool about copyright stuff. I've never had issues with Apple. If there's music, I will mute it, just because I don't want to get copyright claimed for music, but I think we should be good. What are the odds that you had Starlink and T-Mobile and now those billion-dollar companies are teaming up? I know, does that feel random? My 2 previous internet providers are collaborating. How crazy do you guys think it would be if like Starlink announced like SpaceX announced they're buying T-Mobile or something like that? Antitrust would be so mad. The government would be like, "What?" How much do you want to bet the event will be 30 minutes late? Only thing making me unsure is that if it's with T-Mobile, which is more likely to be on time. Yeah, if in case you haven't watched Elon Musk events in the past, Elon is almost always late to things. So there's a good chance. I don't know if I'll bet money, Sam, but there's a good chance they'll be late. I bet you they do the next to redesign in 2025, the year after they introduce USB-C. Would that be 2025? I'm predicting they're going to introduce USB-C next year, which is 23, and then the redesign would be, what, 2024? Didn't you do a skit with SpaceX and T-Mobile talking to each other, and here we are watching a stream of them? I know, it feels weird. I predicted they would collaborate. I did do a skit about this. If you think regular iPhone and iPhone Pro, we already have 2 iPhone releases a year. I guess it's just they're kind of at the same time. It's like one iPhone event a year, basically. I'm looking forward to the Apple event. Yes, I don't plan on upgrading really to anything at the event, but I'm still very curious to see how they pitch the new design, how they talk about the new camera improvements, and how they pitch the new price hikes. And I want to see what ends up happening at this point. I'm in Denver right now, about to get on the California Zephyr back to my house. Oh, wow, I rode the California Zephyr too. That is a beautiful train ride through Denver. It is fantastic. I vlogged that whole trip on Tailosive Talks if you guys want to watch it. I had a great time going across the U.S. that way. You miss so much of the beauty when you take a plane. It's much faster to take a plane, but the train was beautiful. I wouldn't be shocked if T-Mobile is buying SpaceX. Oh my god. That is also insane. But they specifically said this announcement, which starts in 2 minutes, if they're on time, they said that this announcement is about expanding connectivity. So I'd be kind of surprised if it was just a buyout. Noah's Crossing says, my dad watches your channel and loves your skits. Oh, really? That's very nice of him. Shout out to Noah's dad, Mr. Noah's Crossing. Do you think this event will be in person in 2019 or like Oh, this event? I don't think anyone was invited that I know of. I'm guessing it's probably virtual. People are saying the stream has started. Let me double check. Oh, it has. All right. Let me pull it up so you guys can see it. All right, we are live. There are people there. And wow, it's in Starbase. Okay, I'm at full res, and there's probably music playing. Yep. I'm just going to keep it muted, and I'm going to pull out the chat on my phone so I can actually see what you guys are saying. That might be helpful. Oh, that's so cool. Hey, where is Nick? We need to find Nick from the old tech podcast to see if he's still here. Live stream has started. So I guess it is in person. But these people are probably just a bunch of SpaceX employees. They definitely have a lot of SpaceX merch. I don't remember this event being announced that far in advance, so I'm guessing most of the people here work for SpaceX or live in Boca Chica. I know Nick is out there somewhere. He takes pictures of these beautiful rockets every day. For those who aren't well versed in the SpaceX community, those are the next generation of reusable rocketry. So currently, all of the Starlink satellites so far have been sent up with Falcon 9 rockets, where the booster launches them up into space, and then the second stage. Whoa, there's sparks. Is it starting? I see a Tesla in the back. Whoa, why is it buffering? Whoa, it switched. The stream switched up to 4K. Oh my god. Comcast, are you okay? We're live streaming on Comcast, by the way. Eric Berger is there. Starlink just announced a new pink rocket sponsored by T-Mobile. That's funny. I see someone opening the door for the Tesla. Maybe that's where Elon is. I just got an email from MoviePass. Are they back in business? Yeah, I read that MoviePass is trying to come back. So basically, the Falcon 9 rockets that have been used for years that have brought most of payload to orbit over the past couple of years. The first stage is reusable, but the second stage is not reusable. These Starship rockets, which are the tallest, most powerful rockets ever built, the second stage is also reusable. So basically, you just got to fuel them up. You put them on a booster, at least the goal. They haven't tested this yet, but they've been preparing the engines and preparing the Raptor engines, they call them. And they've been trying to get these off the ground. They've done a few test flights, but not for a while. Eventually, these things, which are much larger, are going to send up hundreds of Starlink satellites at a time, and then the booster will come back. The second stage, which is what we're looking at, will come back, and that way there's no space junk. Nothing is left behind, which should lower costs, will make things cheaper to bring to orbit. That way they can continue to maintain satellites. Oh, look at all the T-Mobile hats, too. Magenta rocket. Oh, my God. Yeah, T-Mobile is first build. This is interesting. Texting speakers are jiggling too much. Oh, are they? Yeah, they are. I see the speakers. They're kind of moving around in the background, aren't they? Sunny Patel says, is Nick there? Yeah, he should be. I mean, he works out there. He takes pictures of those rockets in the background every day, so I don't know if he's, like, in the event. This might have been, like, an invite-only thing, but that would be great if we could see him. I keep looking around. Look at this. There's all these people with SpaceX shirts and T-Mobile shirts. It's funny. I did not expect this collaboration to happen. One day we will hopefully be able to use dark energy. That would be cool. Oh, more sparks. Hey, Option Command Media. Thank you so much for your super chat. You just said Tailosive Tech. That's very unnecessary and kind of you, but thank you. Maybe T-Mobile will make a car powered by Tesla. T-Mobile car. Make some memes. Bottom text. T-Mobile car. Are you looking forward to SLS on Monday? To be frank, I don't follow SLS as closely as I do Starship, but I hope it goes well. I hope the testing works out. It'll be interesting to see what images they pull back from space, but sorry, I just haven't. I'm a real big SpaceX fan, and I love reusable rocketry, and I love the concept of payload to orbit getting cheaper and more reusable, and I guess the SLS isn't reusable, so that's why I'm just not that interested in it. There is music playing right now. I just don't want to get copyright claimed, so I have it muted. But once they actually start talking, I'll turn the audio on and you can hear it. Teleport wherever you want. Yes, that would be cool. T-Mobile is announcing teleportation. All of these rockets are now outdated. There's no point. We can just teleport things into space. All of our voices are Tim Cook. Good morning! Or no, what do they say here? Good evening! Good evening, SpaceX employees. Oh, my voices are Tim Cook. Yeah. Should be it. Oh, there's people dancing around. I think they know they're on camera. Yep. They're starting to figure it out. And before a space slingshot, yes. We're just going to spin. Okay, they're, I think, officially 4 minutes late. Whoa! VLF says he's going to see the SLS launch in person. That's cool. That'll be fun. I would love to one day watch a rocket launch in person. Oh, we're getting close-ups now. It's kind of cool that YouTube supports 4K live streaming. I kind of forgot about that. It's usually compressed so much that the difference between 1080p and 4K is kind of hard to notice. Hey, we got some more people. We got a bunch of T-Mobile fans. And it seems like the DJ... Oh, there's Starlink over there. They've got a dish. Is this live stream brought to you by Starlink? What's funny is I'm pretty sure Nick has told me from his experience here. See, that's the booster, by the way, on the far left. They put that blackish looking rocket on top of the booster. It's insanely tall. It's taller than SLS, I think. Oh, what was I saying? They're using a MacBook, an old MacBook Pro for the music, I guess. Can't imagine Tim Cook actually saying good evening. It would feel wrong. I know. Feels like we'd be at a funeral or something if Tim Cook was like, good evening. That just doesn't sound right. Tim can only say good morning. That's the only thing Tim can say. Obeid says, what's going on? That's the exciting part, man. We kind of have no idea what's about to happen. All we know is that Elon is going to be at this event, and he's announcing something that has to do with T-Mobile and Starlink, and it's a collaboration of these two companies, but they haven't really said much of what to expect other than it's going to help expand connectivity. So maybe that's new T-Mobile plans, maybe that's new Starlink plans, maybe that's new Starlink compatible phones or something. Like, we don't know. That's what's kind of exciting is, like, we have no, like, how often do we get to go into a tech event like this with, like, no expectations, no idea really what's going to get announced? Oh, here's a countdown. I think it's starting.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa. The United States. Okay. 3.8 million. Hold on. Oh, there's the woods. 20% unreachable by traditional wireless. Okay, this might be music, so I'm going to keep it intentionally a little low. We got Starlink Maritime. Oh.
Am I afraid? Do I get scared when I'm sailing? And the answer is yes. When things go wrong at sea, they go wrong really fast. There's nothing more terrifying than not being able to communicate.
That wasn't me.
I like to go as far away as I can. Whoa. I am able to go hundreds of miles in a day.
That's cool.
And a weekend. I feel guilty because I don't want to cause anxiety for anybody. If I go out where there's no reception, I may as well be on the moon.
Okay.
The Everglades are 3.8
Might as well
million
be on the
acres,
moon.
and there's a lot of the area we run in that I don't have signal. It puts everybody in a high-stress situation.
See you later.
Not knowing what's going on and being able to communicate.
When I'm out in nature with my kids, I worry a lot, like a mama bear would.
When you're out far enough from being able to get help quickly, it crosses your mind a little more.
Raising
Buffalo.
bison is a very dangerous job.
Sorry.
If John's injured out there, my biggest concern is how to get a hold of somebody, because we don't have cell reception.
Communications can be a matter of life or death. When those communications break down, there's a bit of anxiety.
Well, planes
you
too?
don't hear from me by 3 o'clock, then you need to start the process of looking for me.
Ooh. The wireless industry has no real plan to cover these areas. Oof. Until now, right? Yeah! Ooh. I feel like he's gonna pull out something. Oh, his phone. Whoa! Oh my god. T-Mobile is taking over the planet. That's a Starlink satellite! Hey! So your phone's gonna talk to the...
Please welcome T-Mobile CEO.
What?
Mike Stevens.
How does it do that?
Good evening, everybody.
How the heck is that
How
possible?
you doing? I hope you're all happy to be here like I am. Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm like, how
Thank
the
you to
heck
the
did you do that?
SpaceX team and Elon for welcoming us all to Starbase for this big announcement. I have to tell you, 2 months ago, I gave a little preview of this without a lot of people knowing that I did.
He's got an
I
Apple Watch.
foreshadowed it during the announcement of our latest Un-carrier move at T-Mobile that we call Coverage Beyond. And I told the public then that T-Mobile's mission as a company, our corporate mission, is to be the best in the world at connecting customers to their world.
He's like,
and
I
that
like this.
groundbreaking move, Coverage Beyond, was all about connecting people beyond the reach of our cellular network.
I broke an
With that
NDA.
move, we became the first
I'm in
company of our
trouble.
kind worldwide to offer ubiquitous global cellular high-speed data built right into our most popular plan. 220 countries around the world connected to cellular partners that we have. And we announced that we'd connect you when you're on your way by partnering with all the major airlines in the United States for built-in Wi-Fi for the entire flight at no extra charge. That was Coverage Beyond. And
Okay, we
tonight,
know.
we're taking things together with our new partners at SpaceX, a huge, giant leap forward. Because tonight we are announcing a technology alliance that we call Coverage Above and Beyond.
I would have said infinity and beyond. That's
And
probably copyrighted.
It's big because it is about solving the biggest pain point in the over 40-year history of our industry. This partnership has a vision that is the end of mobile dead zones.
Is that possible? How is that going to
Listen,
work?
this is a big pain point. Our country is vast. In fact, it's the 4th largest country in the world by landmass. There are 500,000 square miles uncovered by any cellular network.
Dang.
And this is important. It's important for safety. It's important for connectivity with the people we love. It's important for people in rural areas. For first
T-Mobile,
responders,
Tesla,
for sports
Twitter,
people like the people in the video. But
Tailosive.
honestly, it's important for all of us. Because, you know, we have all, every single one of us, driven down that windy country road through the hills and dales, beyond the reach of any cellular network, and begun to wonder, what would happen? Am I okay? Is this a time, this is not a time when I want my car or my bike or something, or my person to fail.
Verizon is
This
like, I don't
is
know what you're
important.
talking about.
And so this partnership is about imagining a different future. Imagining a future where if you have a clear view of the sky, you are connected on your mobile phone.
What?
Because this is a technology partnership about dedicating
It's frozen.
T-Mobile's,
Whoop.
a slice of T-Mobile's mid-band PCS spectrum to be integrated into Starlink satellites launched next year. So that our vision becomes that you can connect with your existing phone.
No.
That is incredible.
What existing
Because it's a
phones?
lot like putting a cellular tower in the sky, just a lot harder.
How do they?
And that's why we're here with the world experts at SpaceX. Because we're using a piece of spectrum that your phone already knows.
Oh.
It's a piece of spectrum your phone already knows how to connect to. In fact, the vast majority of phones out there, our aspiration is for them to work right out of the gate.
I need a
with this.
compatibility
And so
list.
this is something that begins next year. We will enter beta, we believe, as soon as late next year with messaging, MMS, and even messaging apps.
Texting
so that
first.
you can, with your existing phone, beyond the reach of any cellular network, be connected. And beyond that, we'll keep going. We're gonna go after data, we're gonna go after voice, and we're gonna connect people all across this country. In the lower 48, in vast parts of Alaska, in Hawaii, in Puerto Rico, in territorial waters, and even vast parts of the world's oceans.
Wow.
Does that sound good to you?
That's with existing hardware? That's insane.
And it's also something that we'd like to work in all the territories of foreign nations as well. And so this is, in addition to something we're doing in the country, a call to carriers worldwide.
Whoa.
Tonight's announcement is an offer for reciprocal roaming with carriers worldwide. If they would like to do something similar to what we're doing with mid-band spectrum dedicated to SpaceX's Starling constellation, we will be able to offer reciprocal roaming to them so that when those people come and visit the United States and go off the grid into the national parks, they'll be connected too. And likewise, when American citizens travel to those countries, they'll be connected. Our vision and our dream is ubiquitous global connectivity. Now, at T-Mobile, we're the Un-carrier. So while we're not here to announce a product tonight, it's a technology alliance, I have to foreshadow for you that I would expect the pricing for this service to be the Un-carrier's favorite price. The price that we've made famous.
What?
Which is that we expect on our most popular plans for this service to be included for free.
Okay. Well, that's what I expect.
And there is no company in the world I would want to trust with a vision this big to partner with us to aspire to dream these dreams than the most sophisticated and advanced space organization in the world and its leader, SpaceX and Elon Musk. So please welcome Elon to the stage.
Yep, there he is. Watch him be like, full self-driving's coming out later this year. Oh, Elon, shut up. Where's the Cybertruck?
Hey, guys.
Hi. So this is cool. Oh, my God.
So, yeah, welcome to Starbase. So it's something that we really want to emphasize because I think there might be some confusion out there is that this is the Starlink second generation satellites will be able to broadcast direct to cell phones. So the cell phones you're holding up there, it will be able to transmit directly to your cell or mobile phone.
Wow.
So
existing phone.
Now this won't have the kind of bandwidth that a Starlink terminal would have, but it will enable texting. It will enable images, and if there aren't too many people in the cell zone, you could even potentially have a little bit of video. So the important thing about this is that it means there's no dead zones anywhere in the world for your cell phone. And we're incredibly excited to do this with T-Mobile. It's really great to do this. So,
felt like you didn't want to say T-Mobile.
But we do want to work with other partners in other parts of the world and really enable this as a function anywhere. And we've all read about somebody who's, say, been hiking and got lost and perhaps died of thirst or exposure, or someone that got stuck in a blizzard and froze to death.
All these phones. Oh my God.
You know, you could conceivably get stranded on a desert island and be talking to a basketball.
Volleyball.
And
not a basketball. Oh my God, Elon.
But now you can call for help.
I need to sue Elon Musk.
So the thing that I think is really profound about what we're announcing today is that it will save lives. And we will no longer read about these tragedies that happen where people get lost. And if only they could have called for help, they'd be okay. So I think what we're doing here is profound.
Hopefully it doesn't.
It's going to massively improve people's convenience, and it's going to save lives. So it's incredible.
That's true. I believe that. Wow.
And the way we're doing this is with really quite big antennas. So so people might be wondering what technology is necessary to make this work. And in order to make this work, you have to have as you might expect, very big ears. So big antennas on the satellites and powerful antennas, and you need a lot of satellites. But that's kind of what we have with the Starlink Gen 2 satellites. So it's sort of a perfect addition to the Starlink satellites. Like I said, we're incredibly excited to be pioneering this revolutionary new technology with T-Mobile. So
that's mind-boggling. That it uses existing hardware.
So if people might be wondering, what do I need to do to make it work? Well, you don't need to sort of point it at the sky and like follow the satellite or anything like that. We're confident that it will be able to work if it's in your pocket or if you're in if you're in your car. Certainly, if you're walking outside, or if you just pull your cell phone out, it'll work great. But we think even in your pocket and in your car, it'll work well. And we think probably up to 2 to 4 megabits per cell zone. So that's thousands of voice calls and millions of text messages. So. Yeah, I think this is a really a massive game changer.
I didn't know they could do that.
I'm being maybe a little repetitive on some of these things because I sometimes wonder, like, is the profundity of what we're saying actually gonna, because, will the public understand this? Hello, public. Because, those in the audience from T-Mobile and SpaceX obviously understand what we're talking about is really a really big announcement. But I hope the public understands the magnitude of the announcement as well. It's, in a nutshell, it's no more dead zones, and yeah, that's what it comes down to. So.
The extinction of dead zones. Even if you were at sea, you could text. Wow. Is there much else to talk?
Take some questions?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So,
no, don't take the live
question. That came in advance from somebody in the press was, do I need a special T-Mobile plan? And, as I said in my remarks, we're not here to announce the product yet, but my vision for this is that on our most popular plans, we're just going to go ahead and include this. And, we feel like that's what the Un-carrier does. That's important. Now, there may be low-cost plans that don't include it, and there our aspiration is to charge a monthly service fee that will be far less than the monthly service fees charged by today's satellite connectivity services. But for the most popular plans at T-Mobile, our vision is to just go ahead and include it for free, just like we did with the global connectivity for our cellular roaming partners all around the world.
So do Starlink satellites have to be reprogrammed to communicate using T-Mobile's radio band? Actually, we need to do more than simply reprogram the satellites. We are constructing
new satellites.
Special antenna. Like I said, they're actually very big antenna that are also extremely advanced. They're the most advanced phased array antennas in the world, we think. And it has
Probably.
to be, the antennas have to be extremely advanced because they've got to pick up a very quiet signal from your cell phone. And you can imagine if that's like cell phone, that signal is going to travel 500 miles and then be caught by a satellite that's traveling 17,000 miles an hour. And the satellite's going to compensate for the Doppler effect of moving so fast. So this is really quite a difficult technical challenge. But we have it working in the lab, and we're confident this will work in the field. So it's actually quite a lot of extra hardware on the satellites, and it's also a lot of software, yes. It's a hard problem. That's why it's not been solved before.
Yeah. So the satellite is really the new technology. An antenna that can shoot that frequency.
So the question is the invitation for all carriers across the world or just the U.S. to start? One of the beautiful things about satellites is that they orbit the Earth. And so, our mutual view was the more companies around the world we can get signed up for this, the way T-Mobile is signing up for it tonight, the better. Because, and what we're offering is reciprocal roaming, so that our spectrum, which will be transmitted by the satellites all around the United States, including territorial waters, vast portions of Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, big swaths of the ocean potentially, will be available to visitors in the United States that have carriers all over the world. And our view is that the best way to do this would be to ask them to also participate, find a piece of mid-band spectrum in their country from their carrier that they can dedicate to this in partnership with SpaceX.
That is a cool
and then our customers would benefit from the same thing when our customers visit their country. And that's one way this could roll out. And so tonight's message is a call to those carriers to get involved and join the party.
So so this
is going to be a short event
to carriers around the world. Please get in touch with us, and we'd love to partner with you and enable this globally. So, yeah.
Yeah, we need to get service on the moon next. That's the
next question right in front of us. Will Starlink handle any of T-Mobile's backhaul transport? Well, we're open to that, and we're partners now. So, yeah. And
Yeah,
brothers.
Yeah, and you know, it's I'm a Starlink customer, so I use the Starlink service right now, and it has blown my mind. I mean, it's an amazing service with massive capacity and speed and in my experience, fantastic reliability. And so, you know, I do think there's an opportunity as we reach further and further into certain rural areas to make that the way we reach people with full voice data and messaging services. And so, you know, certainly we're open to that.
Cool. T-Mobile act more of a backbone. If SpaceX had a stock, it would be going way up right now.
Yeah. Well, you want to do?
And the market was open.
Yeah. Okay. Does participating messaging apps mean iPhone users on this Starlink connection will be on iMessage as usual, and Android users will be on RCS? You know, we haven't actually we just announced this moments ago, we haven't actually begun working with other companies as to how they will integrate with us. But the reason we said select messaging apps is because it's a bit of a technical problem that we need help from the partner with in order to separate messaging traffic from all other data traffic. We've done this before with prior initiatives at T-Mobile. We know how to do it, but sometimes we need a little bit of involvement from partners. We also need to make sure that they're working with us in a payload-aware way. And so our opportunity over this next few months is to open up a program and invite messaging apps to participate such that they are reaching our network in a way that our network can see and separate the messaging traffic and make it available to participate in this service right out of the gate. So that's the vision. And our partners in the internet have worked with us before. Years ago, we did Music Freedom, and we were the first company to allow you to stream all your music free at T-Mobile back when you sold data by the data bucket. And so we've been through this journey before, and that's basically how
they said they'll do cellular eventually.
An important thing, though, is that you will not need to get a new phone. The phone you currently have will work. So, yeah.
That was the crazy part. I did not think they could do that.
Yeah, so some audience questions?
Yeah, hey guys. Thanks for doing this. Question for Elon. Eric Berger from Ars Technica.
Hey!
You said the Gen 2 antennas are very big. Can you talk about how big those are? Sort of.
So big.
But I mean, NASA has had some issues with another company's antennas because they were really big. So I'm just trying to get a sense of like how big they are.
Just ask if they can go on the Falcon
rocket. How many of these
rocket.
can actually fit in the Falcon 9 payload fairing?
Thank
Because
you.
you've been talking about launching that in addition to Starship. So thanks.
Yeah, so we think like this service will be primarily a Starlink V2 satellite. The Starlink V2 is the main body of the satellite is about 7 meters long. So call it maybe 40% longer than an SUV.
Wow.
And then the antennas that we're talking about here would be supplemental to the KU and KA antennas that we're currently using on Starlink 1 and to the laser links. So the Starlink 2 satellites, we intend to have KA, KU, improved KA, KU, and obviously the laser links. And then in addition, we would fold out the sort of cell spectrum antenna that would be also quite large, so on the order of 5 or 6 meters on a side, so roughly 25 square meters.
And then can you get those
Falcon.
in the Falcon 9 payload
Yeah,
fairing?
please.
The Starlink V2 is meant for Starship. We might, yeah.
We might?
Starship, like those things. So the Starlink V2 satellites are very large and too big to fit in a Falcon 9. But we are actually looking at an interim solution, which is like a sort of Starlink V2 Mini that would maybe launch if the Starship program is delayed longer than expected. We'd launch a sort of a smaller Starlink V2 kind of Mini that would fit on a Falcon 9.
Thank you.
Starlink Mini. iPhone 14 Mini is dead, but Starlink Mini will exist. Okay, so there's kind of a way they can do it on Falcon 9.
Andrew Clifford, it's nice to be here. Thanks for putting this on. I'm with TLPN Network and the Launchpad Official. So I guess the first question, I just have like a question about the technical difficulties that you ran into getting up to this point and actually being able to decide that this was worth pursuing? Like, what was the hardest technical hurdle to get past? Before beta, is there going to be an opportunity for like emergency services or anybody to kind of get their hands in on this to see how well it works?
All these people.
So
I don't know. Next question.
As soon as we have the satellites in orbit, we will try to enable them to connect to cell phones for emergency services. So you actually don't need, unlike a real-time connection, you don't need to have the full constellation of satellites active in order to transmit text messages or email, for that matter. So any kind of asynchronous communication will work even if there's only one satellite. So now, of course, we are constrained by regulatory approval. But from a technical standpoint, it should work even when there's only a handful of satellites in orbit.
Wow.
Because of the asynchronous nature of text messaging and email, you might just have to wait, I don't know, a half an hour maybe for the thing to go through, but it should still work from
That's
early
fascinating.
on.
Awesome, thank you.
That would be amazing, because that means it works before the whole constellation is done deploying.
Hey, Elon, Luis Balderas with Lab Padre Media. Good to see you again.
I see you.
Had a couple of off-topic questions, but I'm going to skip those.
Yeah, we're going to stay on topic, otherwise.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, with this new technology, will this eliminate international plans? And you talked about download speeds. What about upload speeds?
Yeah, this will not.
They didn't really talk about download speeds.
Like this is an amazing thing that we're unveiling, but I do want to make sure that it's understood in the right context. So the size of the cell that will be quite large compared to the space-based cell system. The area of the cell will be large compared to a terrestrial system. So this is really meant for places that don't have cell tower connectivity. Because although it's like maybe 2 to 4 megabits capability, that's what the capability is for the entire cell. So if you've got, we're talking about like 1 to 2,000 voice calls per cell, but that cell is going to be quite large. And so it really is, it's not a substitute for ground cell stations, because ground cell stations, especially in urban and suburban areas, will definitely be superior to what we're talking about here. This is really meant to provide basic coverage to areas that are currently completely dead.
Okay, that makes sense. Got it. This is not a very long event, but that's okay. There's not much to say. Anyway.
Good evening, Christian Von Pricing with KRGV here in West Loco, local affiliate. I wanted to ask about situations that we have here in the Rio Grande Valley and in South Texas. The winter freeze, hurricane, big floods, situations where we kind of run out of bandwidth, we start losing cellular connectivity. It affects everyday people, it affects the first responders. So with what you were talking about earlier, is it going to help assist with that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. It's one of the big benefits of this is redundancy. No. And one of the big priorities of our industry, and I know of the FCC who regulates us, is redundancy. And one of the things about starting next year with messaging, as opposed to trying to plunge right into voice and data right away, is that with messaging, we should be able to handle a lot of messages, many, many thousands of messages that can be sent. And so when you do have outages that happen through natural disasters or otherwise, there's an opportunity for people at scale to be connected in real time. And Elon was saying there could be a lag at first, but he's talking about before we reach commercial service, right? So eventually, as we hit commercial service and even beta, this is real-time messaging where you send a message, you get an answer. You know, you're connected. And by limiting it to messaging in the early going, it allows us to address use cases like that. Complete redundancy to cellular networks, which are subject to the weather because they're here on planet Earth.
Yeah, but this really is a big deal. It's a great question to ask because, yeah, even if an entire region or country was lost connectivity because of a severe, hurricane or floods or fires or, tornadoes, earthquakes, there's so many natural disasters, obviously, you would actually still have, even if all the cell towers were taken out, your phone would still work.
Whoa.
Thank you.
That's kind of mind-boggling. Because we have space.
Hi, it's Evelyn Arevalo for Tasmanian.com. How many Starlink users can a single Starlink satellite support?
So in this context for this application, we're talking about roughly 2 to 4 megabits per cell zone. So it depends on how many people are in that cell zone. You divide that bandwidth by the number of people in the cell zone and who are using it simultaneously. So since a voice call is about 2 kilobits, that's 1 to 2,000 simultaneous voice calls, or there's hundreds of thousands of text messages that could be sent depending on the length of the text message.
Thank you.
I see. So not super high. It's not
we have
for
some coming in while you're coming
video.
to the stage. We have some coming in from online at Isaac Swede. How will the phones connect to Starlink? Any special hardware required? I think Elon got at this a little bit. One of the beauties of this approach is that we are using existing T-Mobile mid-band PCS spectrum, some of the most tried and true spectrum there is, and we own it nationwide. It's one of the pieces that we own contiguous on every single corner of the country. So that allows us to then dedicate that, working together, to the constellation that Starlink operates, so that we are seeing those satellites from every corner of the country. You know, as we said in the remarks, if you have a clear view of the sky, our vision is you're connected. And so your phone doesn't really know. You know, your phone doesn't know it's connecting to space.
Stupid phone.
It will scan for its home network. It'll scan for terrestrial roaming partners as well. And if it fails to see those things, it will scan again, and it will connect to the authorized connection from the satellite. And it'll think it's connected to a cell tower, because that phone is using industry standard technology communication protocols, and it has the spectrum already built in. At least the vast majority of phones in circulation today do.
Yeah, it's designed to just fully emulate a cell tower. And it has to do, there's quite a bit of complex hardware and software in that, because it is moving so fast. They're traveling overhead at 17,000 miles an hour. Normally a cell phone tower does not travel at 17,000 miles an hour.
Well,
so the phone's so we actually have to adjust the signal to account for something called the Doppler effect, which is sort of a increase in frequency as you comes towards you, and a decrease as it goes away. Yeah, anyway, but anyway, it works.
It's a cell tower without legs.
It's complicated, but it works, and no extra hardware is needed.
That's impressive. So my iPhone 13 Starlink video was right.
Paul Mamakos with Ocean Camera Space Corp. So both companies are going to work together, kind of contribute different infrastructure together to build a bigger network and
Look at
stuff.
these cameras.
How do you see this maybe going further into the solar system? Maybe future partnership there.
Maybe the moon.
Well, we'd
but
love
not
to have
Mars.
T-Mobile on Mars.
Someone had to have known that was coming. I hate when my cell tower travels 17,000 miles an hour. Ugh.
That might be the last question, perhaps?
Wow. What a short event.
Okay, well, I guess thanks, everyone, and we look forward to providing you with this great service and working together with T-Mobile to bring it to you. So, yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, we got music, so I'll keep it down. Also, the bit rate for my live stream is all over the place. I apologize. In case you're curious, I'm not at home right now. At home, I have T-Mobile home internet. And at my grandparents' house, where I'm staying right now, I have Comcast. And Comcast is all over the place. Comcast itself seems to be Starlinking, which is kind of funny. But it should fix itself, hopefully. And I'll pause the live stream. Hopefully that'll help with the bandwidth. But sorry for all the compression. I know, it looks bad. It looks all pixelated. It seems to know the live stream is over or something. Starlink would make my signal work because it's garbage. I'm sorry, I've kept up with the subreddits. I've definitely seen a lot of people have issues with Starlink speeds. I definitely did as well. That's part of the reason why I do not have Starlink anymore. T-Mobile home internet just worked a lot better in my area, but it's cool to know that I am working with two different companies and they're basically partners in this, partners in crime. Comcast, that makes sense. Yeah, did anyone screen the press for this event? Well, I would say the event was better screened than previous. If you've followed a lot of live Q&A that Elon Musk has had in the past, like at the Tesla shareholder events and, previous SpaceX events, they usually get some really bad questions. These were actually not half bad. They were pretty decent, even if they weren't screened. But in remote areas, this should be no problem. Yeah, I think this is a pretty major announcement. I was not expecting it to work with existing hardware. This is using a wavelength that our phones already have, which basically just means that all of the iPhones and all of the Android phones that we're already using will just suddenly be able to connect to the Starlink network as long as they're outside, which kind of blows my mind. I'm surprised no one asked the question, will this mean Teslas can connect to Starlink? It's like, if they... But the thing is, he said that it would be like 2 to 4 megabits per cell, and these are very large cells. So it's probably only going to be useful for emergency, like texting. It's not going to be good for streaming music, I don't think. It's not going to be much for entertainment. This is mostly going to be for contact and maybe for voice calls. Can't get T-Mobile home internet where I live. I know. I can't get Verizon home internet where I live. Everyone told me to try that. Preparing slides and watching this. Wow. Maybe I'm just used to the shiny, polished Apple events. Well, that's true. Apple has amazing events, so this is about as good as a SpaceX event will get. There weren't any major audio or major video problems. They weren't terribly late, and none of the questions... No one asked if they could kiss Elon Musk, which, if you think that's ridiculous, it did happen in the past. Someone went on one of these Q&A things and asked if they could give Elon a kiss. So I've seen worse Elon Musk events, that's for sure. No one threw a steel ball that broke any windows. No one cursed under their breath. It could have gone much worse, but I do think this is great news. And I do believe what they said. This will save lives. It's actually so interesting, it might be worth making a video on. It doesn't need to be a particularly long video, but I know a lot of people are probably going to be curious about this event, and they're not going to watch this entire live stream. Todd React says, I'm assuming this will be an add-on fee for Mint. That we don't know, because there's a lot of things that T-Mobile offers that they don't give to their MVNOs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mint Mobile doesn't get this, but that's okay because I love Mint Mobile and it's super cheap and I'm not willing to switch to T-Mobile just so that I can have service in dead zones. However, I do have to admit I'm in a place right now where I have Wi-Fi, but I don't have cellular. It's a dead zone. And I've been to this location with Verizon. I've had friends with AT&T here and they don't get service either. So I'm in a location right now that would actually utilize Starlink if I went outside, that's for sure. And they said they're going to expand on it in the future as they add more satellites to the network. They want to increase the speed so that eventually you could do cellular data over Starlink, assuming your phone has line of sight with the sky. But I don't think that's how it's going to start. I think that in its early forms, it's just going to be for low data, which is texting and voice calls, and that's what it's going to be. Let's see. Someone should have asked if Elon Musk uses T-Mobile. I bet he does now, if he didn't before. Speaking of shiny, polished Apple events, when's coming up? Yeah, that's true. Maybe Apple will show the first fully satellite SpaceX phone. No, that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this announcement, is that you don't need additional hardware. This is the SpaceX phone. This connects with Starlink. Like, your phone connects with Starlink. I don't have that in wavelength memorized, but I don't even think you need a 5G iPhone. Or am I... Help me understand that, because I do think I want to do a recap video on this. So let me know in the chat, like the wavelength they were referring to. I'm blanking on it. Mid-band? Is this wavelength a 5G wavelength? So like you would need a 5G phone to connect to Starlink? Or is this a even more basic version? Is this like a 4G wavelength so that even iPhone 11s and iPhone 10Rs could connect to Starlink, theoretically? The fastest this service is ever going to get is 2 megabits per second. No, they said that's how it's going to start. each satellite is going to offer 2 to 4 megabits per second to a given cell, and there's lots of people in a single cell. So I don't think that means you yourself are going to get 4, but they did say in the future they plan on expanding it to more cellular. Beta testing begins when? I think as soon as they get V2 Starlink satellites up, which should be sometime next year. They said mid-band, so I'm 99% sure they mean mid-band 5G. Okay. That's what I thought as well. I thought it might be a little bit wishful thinking. I know he said most phones have it, and he's probably right that by the end of next year, most phones on the market will have 5G. My Starlink dish doesn't connect to Starlink. Well, that's not good, but here's not the right way to get that fixed. I think that it's obviously because of its limitations of, how far away the satellite is. This is meant for emergency services primarily, but then they'll expand into more data-consuming tasks in the future. Apple Satellite Communication Ripper, the Apple event promo picture. What do you think? I don't know what there is to announce at this point, though, because basically this event squashes a lot of theories. This announcement kind of eliminates the theory that you need a special modem to connect to low Earth orbit satellites, or that you need a special phone. Like, a lot of people were like, you need the Tesla phone, or you need a Starlink compatible iPhone, and maybe the iPhone 14 will work with Starlink. And it's like, no, they just killed all the potential of that. They just said this will work with basically any 5G phone. Okay, I'm getting conflicting reports. Scott says the mid-band spectrum T-Mobile got from Sprint has always been reformed to 5G from LTE anyways. Greg Goggins says PCS is the standard mid-land coverage layer most carriers use. It can be carried over LTE or 5G. I'm impressed it can make cell phone calls. I'm guessing, well, because like he said, cell phone calls are very low bit rate, so it's not going to be a super clear phone call. You just need Bing antennas. 5G, that one Apple event. Yeah, I remember the 5G event. Don't remind me. It was cringier than this event. Sino says it's BRS Spectrum. Okay, that doesn't help, but I think the 5G era was incredibly overhyped and it's been incredibly disappointing in general. No, I agree. I've hated 5G since the beginning. I'm sure new modems that are optimized for Starlink internet will have a better connection. I guess, but again, this is using a pre-existing wavelength, so your phone is just going to read it just like they would read any cell phone tower. PCS is what PCS was 1.9 gigahertz and not considered mid-band. Okay. So does that mean it doesn't require 5G? What height are those V2 sats going to be? The same as the others? No, they said, Gustavo, they said at this event they're quite large. It's something like 7 meters by 6 meters or something like that. They're very large satellites, and they're built to go on the Starship rocket. So essentially, they're not going to get V2 satellites up into orbit until Starship is operational. Unless Starship is delayed, then they have a backup plan to use a miniaturized version of Starlink V2, and that version 2 satellite could fit theoretically on a Falcon 9 rocket. BRS equals 2.5 gigahertz equals mid-band. Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, will this require a 5G iPhone or not? I think that's the big question. Or will this just work on any phone that supports LTE? Because Greg Goggins is saying it can be carried over LTE. Scott is saying it needs 5G. Which they reframed for 5G. I don't think this will work with LTE only phones. The truth is, how many people are still going to be rocking iPhones or Android phones that don't have 5G by the end of next year? Because this isn't something rolling out in the next couple months. This is going to enter like beta near the end of 2023, and already we've had 5G iPhones for 2 years now, coming up on 3 years. Could you send a message or location with this if an altitude and speed plane over ocean? Yeah, I think that's the theory. It's low amounts of data. Tesla's in Tech says it will require 5G. He said it works off of existing mid-band technology. I know. That doesn't answer the question. I guess mid-band implies 5G, though. We're pretty confident when they said mid-band, they were referring to 5G mid-band. I hope the phone will tell us if we're using Starlink or a tower. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Like, you get the little 5G icon up there. What if you got something else? What would a good icon be? Like the SpaceX logo? You get the little X. Just a little X in the corner would look cool. If this works like a regular cell tower, will it work inside your house or building? No, it still needs line of sight. I think that's what they said. It needs to be, as they said multiple times, it needs to have view of the sky. But basically, like that crazy video they showed at the beginning, you just hold out your phone when you're outside, and it has connection to the Starlink tower. Mark says T-Mobile has a few mid-band signals like B2, B4, B66, B41. So I can't get a straight answer. Mark says mid-band is used on LTE and 5G. I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to assume when I record my video that it does require a 5G phone, just so that I don't get people's hopes up. If I end up being wrong and it's better than I expected, then that's a good thing. It would be bad if people saw my video and assumed that their 4G phone would get it, and then they don't. So if we can't get a straight answer, it won't work in a plane. Well, I think their theory, planes are going to get Starlink anyway. I think Hawaiian Airlines and a few other airlines have already announced they're going to have. Airplanes have Wi-Fi, and Starlink will give airplanes even better Wi-Fi than they already have. So no, you wouldn't be able to connect to the Starlink. You wouldn't want to, is the point. Like an actual airplane can get a dedicated Starlink terminal. It's probably not going to look like a regular Starlink terminal, but it'll have a dish essentially, and it will give you full speed Starlink on the plane. So you'll have Wi-Fi on the plane that you can watch videos on, and probably even live stream if you wanted to. It would be faster internet than you would ever get on any plane today. And then if your plane crashed and you were on a deserted island in the middle of the ocean, then you could send a text message and your location, because it's just latitude and longitude, not a high amount of data, and just say, hey, help, this is where I am, help me out. Yeah, like Nick said, better be safe than sorry. Greg says, that is the ultra capacity 5G that T-Mobile home internet runs off of. The spectrum has very limited range and maxes out around 1.5 to 2 miles, with the signal being sketched far. Is there a mid-band 4G? Sino says yes. Oh my god. This is the most nerdy live chat argument I've ever seen. Scott says there is no such thing as mid-band LTE. The spectrum that is currently being used for mid-band 5G can be used for LTE, but is no longer being used for LTE by T-Mobile. Interesting. 5G is short range, can't get signal from satellites. We could use 2G, 3G spectrum to connect to satellites. No, there's oh my god, this is so hard to explain. There are certain versions of 5G that are short range, but there are slower versions of 5G that are longer range, that are very similar to that of LTE range. Are we allowed to make Wi-Fi phone calls on airplanes, or is that illegal? Yes, you can. You can already do that. According to Musk's second-generation Starlink satellite launching next year will be able to broadcast service using part of T-Mobile's mid-band 5G spectrum. Is that a headline you read? I didn't hear them say 5G like once. To me, like at this event, it seemed like T-Mobile is pretending the 5G is just the standard now, and there's no reason to differentiate. So, because you guys can't seem to agree, I'm going to assume that it needs a 5G connection, and I could be wrong, but that's okay, because if I end up being wrong, then everyone will be pleasantly surprised. But yeah, this was a fascinating announcement. I think I can confidently say it surpassed my expectations. I did not think that my iPhone would be able to communicate with Starlink satellites. Basically, the new tech in this announcement is the satellite itself. The satellite is now capable of emitting a wavelength that a cell tower would emit. That's the announcement, which means that you don't need to buy a special phone. You don't need to buy a special equipment. Just your existing iPhone or Android that you're using right now will be able to connect to Starlink satellites once they get V2 up there, which will probably take a few years. So like people like Eduardo who are just tuning in are pretty confused. They're trying to figure out what the announcement is. That's why I think I want to do a recap video. If you have no service for any carrier, then how do you have 5G home internet? I'm not at home right now. My actual home has 5G home internet, and I do get signal there. I'm staying at my grandparents' place right now because they're out of town and they wanted someone to water the plants, watch over the house, You know, they've got a garden and stuff that they want people looking after. So we're just house sitting for the grandparents. So I'm away from home right now. But I do think this is a big deal. I think this is life-saving technology. Would you review it? If it comes to Mint Mobile, yeah. I don't know if it... I wouldn't switch to T-Mobile for this alone. Although I guess the T-Mobile does have a test drive app. So maybe in the future... Doesn't test drive lets you use it like once a year? How does the rule work? It is 2.5 gig band. It was an old Sprint band. It is 5G. Okay, Thomas is saying it's 5G. Mid-band literally refers to any signal between 1 to 6 gigahertz. What is the wall hanging above your head? The wall? It's like a weave or something. My grandma weaved that together. It's like a painting. It's supposed to be like an eye and a sunset, and she did it herself. I'd love for her to talk about it, but she's not here right now. Maybe we should do a stream. I live deep in the woods and work in IT. It's brutal. Yeah, I believe it, Steve. There's no real ISP. Shamir says Apple partners with SpaceX to let Starlink work on any 5G iPhone regardless of carrier. That would be fascinating, but I don't think it'll happen. This is expensive technology. Someone's going to want to get paid for it. That's for sure. And in this case, it's T-Mobile is paying Starlink to have access to these satellites. And that's going to... It's a partnership. They're going to put a lot of T-Mobile customers now on the Starlink network. So it's good for SpaceX. It's good for T-Mobile. It's good for everyone, really. It's a great announcement that they're basically trying to kill off dead zones so that even in the worstest of situations, you would be able to text and call people. I think test drive is one time only. I used it 2 years ago and I'm still not eligible. Oh, okay. I sit corrected then. I thought you could do it again, but it does seem like a weird thing to paywall. Imagine if you were like, hey, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I need to call someone or text someone. I'm in a bad situation. And they were just like, sorry, you don't have magenta. Guess I'll just die. That might be a good point. James says he'd like to hear the story on the wall. Okay, we might have to do a video. Maybe on Tailosive Talk sometime we'll talk about it. I'm assuming apping would whitelist iMessage since it runs off of data and wouldn't be a traditional text message. It's not built on SMS, no, but it is still a similar concept of sending a small amount of text. So, like, yeah, your FaceTime audio and your full resolution pictures wouldn't really work over Starlink, but you could send words. Help, in trouble, leg fell off, whatever. Something. Have you seen that meme? Greg's leg fell off. What was it? There's a meme that does something like that. It made me laugh. It's not Greg. No, it's not. Where was it? There's a meme of someone that's like, some guy is climbing up a mountain. Some very amazing mountain climber has like, artificial legs and he's climbing with them. And then one of the legs falls off. And when you just see that clip of the mountain climb without context, it's like, what? Can you say that? Test drive should be once a year, but they tie you to your IMEI number, so you could always just get a new different phone. Oh, I got you. Well, when did I do that video? I could try it again because I have a different phone now. What do I look up? Download. That was over a year ago, so I don't think I had my... Yeah, that was in June. I didn't have this phone. Maybe I'll try it again when Starlink is working. Let's see. They'll probably use a slice of 2.5 gigahertz since it's just text for now. Yeah, I think that's the plan. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I think I'm going to get some dinner and then maybe I'll do a video on this at some point. But I do think it's a big deal. I don't think they're exaggerating when they say this will save lives. Like, someone in the chat was like, what if my phone dies and I'm in the middle of the woods? It's like, okay, yes, there are still ways for you to be irresponsible. We cannot wire power to you in the middle of the woods if you get lost, but we can find a way to make cell phone coverage work basically anywhere on the planet. That is now possible. And the concept that you could be lost in the woods or you could be in a dead zone and maybe your car goes out, or think of all those scary movies you watch where people are like, oh, the service is dead, we can't call the police or something. We could eliminate that and make that a thing of the past thanks to Starlink, thanks to these next generation satellites, and T-Mobile is basically pioneering it. You know, they chose to go with T-Mobile, but the truth is they could really do this with any carrier. Verizon could partner with SpaceX and offer something similar. AT&T could do the same thing. It's really quite possible that all carriers in the future will offer this as time goes on. Yeah, bring a solar portable charger if that's what you're worried about. But the point is there are tons of situations where people die or get lost or aren't able to call for help because they don't have cell phone service. They may have power, but they don't have a way to text or call anybody. And this is going to eliminate that possibility that you would be in a place where you can't... There's no leg. My legs hurt. What? Has no legs. Climbs Mount Everest. What's your excuse? Oh my god. Oh, Tesla's a tech. You're making me laugh. But yeah, like I think this is a big deal, and I think it'll make some interesting news. So anyway, oh, Greg says, I assure you they cannot use the 2.5 megahertz N41 or 5G ultra capacity Sprint spectrum for this. That's a heavy capacity layer, but does not allow for much range. Yeah, I'll leave it up to the experts. I'm comfortable just saying that if you have a recent phone, because if we just say it works with any phone, you know there's going to be like that one guy out there that's using an iPhone 3 or an iPhone 4, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, I'll get Starlink on my iPhone 4, and then we'll have to be like, well, no, not that one, so I'm just going to say it needs 5G. Only T-Mobile has the high-capacity spectrum that covers every inch of the USA. Really? Does that mean, like, never once will couldn't Verizon buy some contract where they get to use some of T-Mobile? I mean, some of T-Mobile spectrum? I feel like that has to work eventually. But if it is that locked down, then, my God, T-Mobile's going to have a huge competitive advantage over all their competitors. People's bad planning should not be a barrier for this to exist. No, it's not. I don't think it's a barrier. The biggest barrier for this to exist is Starship, and how quickly the FAA allows Starship to launch, and how quickly they can get satellites into orbit. That's the biggest barrier. FCC is another barrier as well. But I appreciate you all for tuning in. I had a lot of fun. This was kind of a random spur-of-the-moment live stream, but I feel like I learned a lot, and I think that this is going to be a game-changing tech for a lot of people. Definitely a much bigger deal than 5G was, but I appreciate you all, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care, all. Have a good night. Bye-bye.